Welcome back. For the first time in 2 weeks, Two Docs No Degrees is back. Been a little slacking. Been a lot of stuff going on, trying to get some stuff in order, but we've got some stuff to catch up on. Doc Frankie back in action. Carver, once again, I'm going solo. We're going to get back to that, but it was a very fun weekend if you were a fight fan. Tremendous boxing card out of the MGM Grand Casino. It was amazing. It was a fantastic card from top to bottom, one of the better boxing cards I've watched in a while. And it all ended with a towel throw-in in the 7th round by Deontay Wilder's corner. As a huge Deontay Wilder fan, it was sad to see, but I have nothing against Tyson Fury. Going into this, I felt like he was the better boxer. I knew something was going to go bad when Teddy Atlas and everyone was picking Deontay Wilder to win. He was just beat. He was beat down completely. Fury controlled it from start to finish. You saw Wilder looking for that one overhand right. He was looking for that hook. He just never got it. The couple of times that he did go for it, Fury was able to dodge it. Fury showed how much more technical prowess he has over most other boxers, and now we don't know where we stand. And contractually, there's a trilogy. There should be contractually one more fight between Wilder and Fury, but as a Wilder fan, as someone who truly respects him, I don't think we need to see that right away. And most other people agree with me. Max Kellerman on First Take this morning said the same thing. Wilder, you're going to have to go back and you need to think about your game. Everyone called Tyson Fury crazy when he quit his trainer, got to a new one. He started training this new style of I'm just going to come after you. It worked. He pushed the pace. It was his fight the whole time. He made sure that Wilder was on his heels the whole time. Wilder kind of looked, especially after his ear got bloodied, Wilder kind of looked off balance. Fury took advantage of that, kept pressing him against the ropes, kept pushing him back. Wilder never really got his feet under him. Had a couple of good punches in there, but overall it was pretty much Tyson Fury's fight. It sucks when you're watching a guy like Wilder who is a fighter, he's a brawler. It sucks to watch him get the towel thrown in on him, but it was too painful to watch. He was cut up, bleeding from everywhere. Fury had just completely pounded him into submission. The thing was he was still intelligently blocking. He was still ducking out of the way. So that was kind of where it kind of hurt fans was watching that happen. But I think we can all agree it was the right call. Wilder will be back. He'll be the champ again. But Tyson Fury looks like Anthony Joshua is next on his agenda, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, everyone wants to see it now. We were waiting to see who's going to win this fight. Now you're looking at a unification bout to unify all the belts between the two. I'll tell you, I don't see anybody beating Tyson Fury right now. He has been he completely outsmarted Deontay Wilder. Fury is a boxer with power. Fury is a boxer with prowess. He's a technical magician. It's not really where Wilder comes from. Wilder is a brawler. That's what he does. He's going to have to get to the technical side of it. I think that's where a lot of people missed Fury. They did not realize, I think even a lot of the experts didn't realize how good he was. But, thumbs up to him. He knew what he had to do to win. He changed the way he fought from the first fight, and that was the real key, as Wilder came out trying to do the same thing. Fury wasn't going to have that. Fury was in the whole time. He was pressing, he was backing him down, he was keeping the pressure on him, and that's really what happened to him. Was he just, Fury just kept on him, and Wilder really couldn't get any offense in. So I wanted to go in quick on that. It's really not much to talk about. Everyone who watched it. One thing I do want to say is why did it have to go so late? The prelims, the undercard, everything, guys. Everyone was begging someone to just lay down. I know you're fighters. I know that you want to win, but everyone just wanted someone to lay down. It was brutal watching fights go the distance before we finally got to the main event. I loved it as a fight fan, as a boxing fan, watching this amazing card, this great card, showcase some talents that not a lot of people had seen before. The heavyweight bout before Wilder and Fury, I gotta say, Gerald Washington was like he wasn't even there. They called it intensity the whole fight. I was like, man, this dude looks like he doesn't even want to be there. He doesn't even want to fight. But like I said, just an amazing card from top to finish. It was great. It was great to watch as a fight fan, great to watch as a boxing fan. And if you're a fight fan, show's not over. This coming up Saturday, biggest fight of young Israel Adesanya's career versus Yoel Romero. It's gonna be rough. I'm a huge Adesanya fan, but I have nothing but respect for Romero, and just like every other fighter in the UFC has respect for him. He is a brutalizer. Even at his age, he is still feared in the UFC. Jorge Masvidal said he wouldn't want to step in the ring with him. I mean, that's, that the BMF belt to me is a joke, especially having the Rock. But when a guy like Jorge Masvidal, he's not the biggest name, but Masvidal, he comes in and he wants to fight everybody. He doesn't care who you are. So, I mean, it's definitely something when he says, nah, I wouldn't want to fight him. I wouldn't want to get in the octagon with him. So Adesanya, Yoel Romero, the biggest thing for Adesanya this Saturday is going to be, is definitely going to be keeping Romero in a distance. That's going to be what he's going to be looking for. He's going to want to make sure that he's going to keep that at a distance. He's not going to let Yoel Romero shoot in, but that's going to be what Romero is looking for. Romero is going to want to use his size. He's going to want to use that advantage. He's going to want to shoot in. This is going to be tough. I mean, I'm pulling for Adesanya. I believe he is the next great one behind John Bones Jones. But it's going to be rough. Adesanya's going to have to keep him at bay with that length. He's going to have to keep him away from him, because if Romero gets inside, I don't see Adesanya. I don't see him being able to control that. If Romero gets into the ground, if he's able to grapple, if he's able to get inside, as an Adesanya fan, I hate to say it, but I see UFC 248 going Romero's way. The middleweight title could be on his shoulder, and that's really not something we want to see, or I want to see as a fan. But it's going to be a great week for fight fans from one Saturday to another. There's no wait. There's no downtime between the two. If you're a fight fan, it's a great week for you watching these two great ones. Watch. So yeah, huge week for fight fans. I'm excited. I'm ready to see Adesanya. This is going to be his toughest test, his biggest battle to date. There's a lot. UFC is at the top of its game right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. The fight scene, really, between boxing, between UFC, this stuff is just, it's becoming big. It's becoming big again. People are starting to take notice. Arenas are filling a lot more than they have been in the previous years. It looks like everything that used to be big seems like it's coming back. In the fighting area, Uh, like I said, there's not really much to talk about because of how the Fury and Wilder fight went down, because of how lopsided it was, and really the only thing about Adesanya and Romero is it's going to be Adesanya. He's known as a style bender. Uh, he can, go with pretty much any style. He's one of the better guys in the world right now. A lot of people don't think, including myself, I honestly don't think. I think he's going to be better than John Jones. I think that he is a younger, better version right now, and we're going to see against Romero if that is right or if that is wrong. But he's undefeated, 18-0. Romero's 13-4. Romero's older. Romero is going to have the experience factor on him when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it's going to be huge. And if you're not a fight fan, if you are a fight fan, I suggest if you don't want to pay for the pay-per-view, get out to a bar Saturday night because it is going to be rocking. And I want to put my money down on Adesanya, but there's no way I would bet against Yoel. I believe that the way it's going to end is Romero shoots in too hard, shoots in too fast, and Adesanya catches him. I believe that's the way it's going to end. We'll see. But Romero's definitely going to want to get in close on him, and Adesanya's going to want to keep him at a distance. So I do want to touch on something I haven't touched on in the pod yet. So 19 games left for most, around 17, 18, 19 games for a lot of NHL teams right now, and that's what I want to touch on. Just a little rundown of how this is looking. Of course, my Bruins hold a 5-point lead in the Eastern Conference over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Boston and Tampa Bay have kind of been battling it out to see who's going to be the top team. So that's huge. In the Western Conference, St. Louis, it's a little down in the Western Conference points wise. Overall there's 3 Eastern Conference teams ahead of the top Western Conference team. So it's a little down in the Western Conference this year, but the Eastern Conference is usually the one that people look at, as really the main ones. Because it has Boston, it has Washington, it has Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, the Islanders. It has the Capitals with Ovi on it. Tampa Bay and Boston have been the big dogs over the past couple of years. But so if you're not a hockey fan, the way the point system works in hockey is so you get 2 points for every win, and then it's win-loss and overtime losses. So even if you lose in overtime, you get a point for that. So Boston is sitting at 39, 12, and 12. So that means that they're getting 78 points through the wins, and then they're getting that. Then what puts them at 90 is that 12 points from the overtime losses. So that's that's just the way the point system works out. If you're not a hockey fan, it is a really fun sport to watch, especially once you get a hold of the rules. So I really would. I would look into it if I were you. If you're a sports fan, but that's never really been a sport that you've watched. It really is. It really is a fun sport to watch. So the rundown of kind of the top 8 teams right now in each conference. It's really tight. It's really tight in both conferences. If you look at it, the top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, it's only a 16-point window, 90, and then you've got Columbus down in the 8th spot at 74. So that's something that's really big, is how close and how quickly these teams can get back in something like this in hockey. it's it's like I said, it's just a really tight race. That's the one thing that I love about this time of year is NBA is in full swing. I'm going to talk about them here in a little bit. Baseball spring training has started. Pre-spring training games have started. Uh, NHL is getting to the playoff run, just like the NBA is. College basketball is getting to March Madness. We have football now with the XFL. The combine starts this Thursday. It just, this is the perfect time if you're a sports fan because everything is going on. There's no stopping now, and that's why we're fixing to start putting out more and more content because there's so much stuff to talk about. In the Western Conference in hockey, St. Louis sits atop, only 3 points ahead of Colorado, who are in second, and just 4 points ahead of Dallas, who are in third. In the eight teams, it's a little tighter in the West with only 12 points separating 1 to 8. So that's four, and that's 6 games right there to where you can get back in it. That's huge. So it's really going to be a tight race. In the next 3 spots behind the 8th spot, it's only a 5-point difference. And then if you look, it's only a 4-point difference in the next 3 spots in the Eastern Conference to try to get that playoff push. So it's coming down to the wire. I know I have some hockey fans out there in the Wisconsin. It's a lot of the northern states where you find your biggest hockey fans. But I've been a hockey fan for as long as I can remember. I've always been a Boston Bruins fan. So Daniel Char has always been my favorite player. I was a huge Patrice Bergeron fan. So that's all. That's always been something that I've enjoyed watching. It took a while to learn the rules, but it's just something that I've enjoyed. But I just want to do a quick thing on that because we don't talk about that. So, so NBA, we're getting to the final, just like hockey. We're coming down to the final stretch. We're around that 25 games left mark. This is where it really gets dicey. In the Eastern Conference, not really so much. You kind of have those 3 or 4 teams that you feel like are the best guys. And the top 4 in the East, you really feel like are probably the best 4 teams in the East. The Bucks, Raptors, Celtics, Heat. The 76ers, who many picked, including myself, after they made their offseason acquisitions to beef up their defense. Many people predicted that they would be the ones to come out of the East, knock off the Bucks. But it seems like it's becoming harder and harder for them to play. They can't spread the court as much. They went out and got Glenn Robinson, stuff like that, but it just seems like they can't spread the court enough, and they don't know which one they want to run their offense through. That's the thing when you have 2 superstars like that. They have to know how to play with each other, and their games have to coexist. That's the problem with Philadelphia right now is they have 2 huge superstars. They don't know how to coexist. Their games can't coexist, and that's a problem because you have to choose one. No matter what team it's been, you always have the alpha, and that's where your team runs through. The 76ers can't figure out who they want to run it through. If they want to run it through Ben Simmons, if they want to run it through Joel Embiid. If you look at the history, I think that it would be best, and I've stated this before, that they should move on from one of the 2. I've stated that I think it should be Ben Simmons, but that's just me saying that. There's a lot of factors to consider between the injury history from Joel Embiid, but the thing about it is when he's on the court, he's the best big man in the NBA. There's no one who can touch him, big man-wise, in the NBA. Ben Simmons, he can't, he's not really, he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I don't think this is the system for him. I believe that he needs to be on a team who can spread the court out, kind of like the Bucks have built around Giannis. A team that spreads the court out and allows him to penetrate. Embiid can step out, but he takes too many threes a game, and that's been a problem for Philadelphia. Brett Brown hasn't really learned how to get a control on it, but we'll see how that all shapes out in the end. The Bucks are the best team in the NBA. They've shown that. 48-8. I think it's like fifth or sixth best record. They had 47-8 through 55 games. It was like the fifth or sixth best record in NBA history. But it seems like the 8 teams probably are set in the Eastern Conference. And I mean, really, it seems like the 8 seeds are kind of set in both conferences. It's not. It's 3.5 games from the 8th to 9th spot, so that's pretty close. But it feels like the way teams are playing now, it seems that the 16 teams in the playoffs are pretty much set. But it's been insane to watch, and if you watch the Lakers and Celtics game this weekend, it was absolutely phenomenal. Probably the best game all year so far. Came down to the wire. A couple controversial calls there near the end. Brad Stevens, who is normally a pretty respectful guy, and that I thought that Van Gundy made a very good observation on that. Is sometimes it hurts you to be the respectful guy, and what he meant by that was Stevens is always respectful. He hardly ever talks to the refs. He hardly ever gets into it with them. Pretty much never does. And then the one time he says something, they take him up, and it's not it's a lot of coaches do a lot worse than that and don't get teched up. I mean, it was just something that it was an observation from Van Gundy during the game. But I think this NBA season has been one of the best. I believe the talent is truly spread out through both conferences. I think we can all agree that the Lakers are probably the best. Team in put together wise. I think that the Lakers are the best team. I think that they have the depth, just like the Bucks. It's really hard to choose between those two. And I'm a Celtics fan, and I'm saying I believe the Lakers are the best in the league. So that truly hurts me saying that, but it's just the roster that they have. The Bucks are deep. The Lakers are deep. I think it's going to be them two in the finals. And it's going to be a barn burner of a finals. It's going to come down. I believe it's going to go 7 games. But it's just, looking at their two rosters, I think that the Lakers have more star power, and they've learned how to play together. Just like, excuse me, just like the Bucks can. But I just think that there's a lot of star power on that Lakers team, and I believe they are the best in the league. In the NBA, though, I want to talk about a couple of teams. So one surprising from the East, one surprising from the West. Not surprising that they're in the playoff race, because before Kawhi got there, and this is in the Eastern Conference, before Kawhi got there last year, they were winning. They were winning the Celtics division most of the years. They were one of the top seeds in the East every year. But so you expect them to be in the running for the playoffs, but losing a guy like Kawhi, losing that kind of production, it was like, okay, what's going to happen now? They just made a finals run. Now he leaves. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, Pascal Siakam, who is one of the more surprising guys this year, probably going to win Most Improved Player. Pascal Siakam just is like, okay, Kawhi's gone. I got you. I got you guys. I'm going to pick up where he left off, and he has played phenomenally. Absolutely fantastic. Kyle Lowry is coming in this year. Fred VanVleet is playing great. This team just looks like they can make a run. Right now, the way it stands, they would play Brooklyn in the first round. Brooklyn seems like they could be the team that falls off. They just lost Kyrie. They don't have KD. Kyrie just had season-ending surgery, in case you didn't know. So it looks like possibly the Wizards could sneak in, because I don't know if the Nets will be able to handle that. Even though they did win a game without him, they're 7-3 in their last 10. We'll see how this last part of it goes. They're 6 games ahead of the Wizards, but we'll see how that goes. But Toronto has just been playing fantastically. Their defense has been on point. They're the 2nd seed in the East. No one really saw that coming. Everyone projected them to make the playoffs, but somewhere around 5 or 6. So truly surprising from them. And then the Oklahoma City Thunder. It seemed like, okay, we're in a rebuilding mode. We're fisting to, Chris Paul doesn't want to be here. We're going to trade him away. No one wanted his contract. They couldn't find a trade suitor. Now it seems like Chris Paul's having fun playing there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing ball. They're the 6th seed in the West when no one thought they were going to make the playoffs. If you hammered the over for Oklahoma City, you were about to get paid. This year. A lot of people, including so-called experts, they wanted the under on them. They did not expect them to be as good as they are. But they have shown that they can play with these young guys. They are an extremely young team. And they've got a veteran that is leading them in Chris Paul. People talk about him being a bad locker room guy, but he's showing that maybe he is a leader. Maybe he can lead these young guys. Maybe he's heard what people have said about him and he wants to change that stigma. He has been fantastic for them this year, and they're playing fantastic ball. 35-22, 13 games over 500, 9 games back out of first. They're in the 6th seed, but they're only 2.5 games out of third. They're only 4 games out of second. If that tells you how close the Western Conference is. From 1 to 8, it's a 15.5 game difference. It's a 24 game difference in the East. So even though you have kind of the top 4 teams in the East, like we said, we kind of know the best teams, but the Western Conference has always been a better playoff race at the top, and it's really showing that this year. I talked about Pascal Siakam being one of the most improved player to me in the NBA this year. Another guy that, and as a Celtics fan, it's great to see, is Jason Tatum. He has just been balling out of his mind. Dropped 41 on the Lakers, even though he came away with the loss. That tied a career high for him. He was just completely going off down the stretch. I believe he ended up with 18 in the second quarter. He dropped 15 in the third, I believe, something like that. It was just, the first quarter he had 1 point, and then after that he just went off. So he ended up scoring the 40 in the 3 quarters, and ultimately, if he would have been able to get that hot in the first, we could have pulled that game out. But it was a lot of calls down the stretch that could have went both ways. I'm not blaming the refs. It was a great game. We just lost, coming down the stretch. We did make the plays that we needed to, but it was just a fantastic game. If you're a basketball fan, if you weren't a basketball fan, you still enjoyed it. And that kind of, before I get into other stuff, speaking of the Lakers, it is February 24th. It is 2/24. Carver texted me this morning and told me to brace myself, and I didn't realize what he was talking about. He wanted to give me a heads up. He didn't want me to get caught off guard, but it is 2/24. It is the Memorial Day for Gianna and Kobe. I just, it still hurts. And I'm glad Carver told me that this morning. They are missed. And it's, we understand that there were 7 other people on that chopper, and rest in peace to all of them. But when it comes to honoring someone, we can honor everyone, but for us personally, we want to honor those heroes, and Kobe was one of those to many, and I spoke on this after his death, so I'm not going to speak on it. But everyone understands what he did and what he meant to a lot of people. So, thank you, Kobe. I know that Vanessa's hurting. I know your kids are hurting. Gianna, I hope that you're keeping your dad straight up in the sky. I hope that y'all are balling out. I hope you're doing the things that you love. I hope you're looking out for your family. I know you are. I know you're looking down. You're proud of how they've handled all this. You're helping them. You're giving them strength. Just thank you for everything that you did. And today is your day. And for basketball fans, every day for a while is going to be your day. That's all I really have on that. The Kobe situation today, just 224. Memorial Day for them. Everyone's doing remembering Kobe stuff. Just let's honor them the best we can. So moving on from the NBA to more basketball, college basketball. We're from Arkansas, so it's mainly hog ball is what we talk about. Really, the NCAA this year has been just wide open. Kansas, Kansas is Kansas. They were number 3. Baylor's been number 1 for a while. They just knocked off Baylor over the past few days. So now we're probably going to see an 8th number 1 team this year. That's insane. It has been crazy this year. Everyone's getting knocked off, and you don't know who's going to win what game. No one's safe. And Arkansas, who everyone thought was dead in the water, I do want to talk a little bit on them. Everyone who thought they were dead in the water, I don't think we're making a tournament. It is projected that we have to go at least 500 in conference. That means we have to win out. We have to win our next 4 games. We're 17-10 right now, 5-9 in conference. We just knocked off Missouri, which is a huge win for us because we had dropped 5 straight. So, one thing about Arkansas, and I have been, thank God Isaiah Joe is back. He's healthy. He dropped 21 points. Him and Desi Seals carried throughout that second half. They carried us to the victory. Mason Jones wasn't quite himself, but Isaiah Joe, welcome back, ISO Joe. Desi was knocking down everything at the end. He had a great 3-point game going. So did Isaiah Joe. It was just glad to have him back, watch that court spread out, watch his scoring ability take place. But I have been a critic of Arkansas's hustle, their heart, their dedication, their determination. It was brought to my attention, and we talked a little bit about this the last time me and Carver did. Eric Musselman's got to be getting tired of this, and you can see it every game. Musselman is just looking around like, God, what is going on? Why can't we get anything to go our way? Because if you look at it, before the Tennessee game, their biggest loss in SEC play was 7 points. 7 points. They beat Missouri by 10 this Saturday. They were out-rebounded by 13. That's been the norm. Is 10 to 15, sometimes, higher than that. They are getting pounded on the boards. They're getting out-rebounded every game. But before the Tennessee game, their biggest loss had been 7 points. That's ridiculous. Can you imagine if they get 2 or 3 or more of those rebounds? It's a tie ball game. We're going into overtime pretty much every night. That's how, Musselman, with the size that we have, with the size that Arkansas has, Musselman in press conference, I'm waiting at the end of the year to be like, well, what could we do? We're doing everything that we can. We're hustling as hard as we can. We're playing the best that we can. We're in every game. It's just one thing that doesn't go our way here. We don't grab a rebound there. But we're inside. We're in every game. We have not been blown out except by Tennessee. and that was just kind of a blip on the radar. That's something special. Next year we have Moody coming in. We have Kyle Vanover, 7'3". The rebounding is gonna get better next year. This team has a shot to do something special as long as our key pieces come back in Isaiah Joe and Mason Jones. As long as we can at least keep one of those guys here and then add some scoring behind them, Arkansas is looking at something special next year, and it's going to be fantastic. We're going to have size, we're going to have rebounding, and these games that we have been close in that we just can't win because we're getting beat on the boards, you know, we're going to pull those games out, and Musselman's just got to be sitting there like, man, we're doing what we can. You know, what else do you want me to do? We're inside every game. You know, we're close. We're right there. It's just, we're tired. We're only playing 7 people compared to other guys, 10 or 11 guys deep. You know, we're only playing 7 guys. We're running at a fast pace. We're smaller, so we have to get out and run. You know, we like to get out in transition. We don't like to set up that half-court set because of the size differential. So, I mean, that's all I really have. You know, March Madness is getting, conference tournaments are close to starting. Just be ready. I don't see a lot of brackets going a lot of people's way because of how everything has been shaping out. Arkansas, though, I believe, NIT bid, more than likely not an NCAA tournament bid. Joe Lunardi has them on the next 4 out when it comes to the SEC. So, you know, we'll see how all that goes. More hog ball. College baseball has started now, and for Arkansas fans, thank God, we get something that we're expected to win every series. Starting off 7-0, just finished up a 4-game skid against Gonzaga where we swept. Robert Moore and Heston Kjerstad have been phenomenal. Kjerstad already has 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. It's just, you know, the pitching's been phenomenal. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because it's a very small sample size, only a couple minutes on this, but Casey Martin has really not been, you know, he's really been kind of a disappointment this year so far. He'll get better as the year goes on, but the guys that we have looked for have been the guys that we've needed. You know, it's been Goodhart, it's been Opitz, it's been Moore, it's been Kjerstad, it's been Franklin. You know, it's Nesbitt. It's been these guys that we expected, and they're coming through for us. We're holding opponents to a 214 average, which is ridiculous. Opponents against us have an 804 ERA. You know, we're winning ball games, you know, be it against lesser competition, but that's what you do at the beginning of the year. We'll know more as this team goes on, as we get into SEC play, as we get into SEC series. But, you know, this Arkansas team is starting off just the way everyone expected. Number 5 in the nation, I believe. Dave Van Horn doing what he always does. Just win, baby, just win. That's really all I have on Arkansas baseball. I just wanted to kind of hit on it for a second. We'll get deeper into college baseball and the pro baseball as things get deeper into the season. So, another big thing this weekend, the XFL in its 4th week, or its 3rd week. It's been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed watching. Houston, to me, is the unanimous number 1 decision, especially after, and we'll get to the DC Defender game. But Houston and Seattle, I believe, are the top 2 teams. I'm not saying DC is going to fall a lot. They fall to my 3rd spot. That's just because they had a terrible showing this week. I still believe they are one of the better put-together teams in the league. I believe that they just had a setback. Cardell Jones didn't know how to handle adversity, hadn't handled adversity in the first 2 weeks, and now they're kind of going to get that in his head. But Tampa Bay Vipers, this close to upsetting Houston, but P.J. Walker has just been phenomenal. 24 24 of 36, 306 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was only sacked 1 time. He has been phenomenal. Cam Phillips he had all 3 touchdowns that P.J. Walker threw for Houston. 8 receptions, 194 yards, 84 was his long. This team is just built to play. P.J. Walker is making a name for himself. Look for him to be on an NFL roster in the next couple years. But I definitely want to talk about Tampa Bay. I'm going to get to the New York Guardians. I believe they solidified themselves as the worst team in the XFL. Me and Kyle Carver have differentiating opinions on that, but I'm going to give my case for the Vipers over the Guardians. The Vipers show that they can play ball with the best. Houston is the best in this league. The Vipers only lost 34-27. Aaron Murray was out with an injury. Thank God for Tampa Bay. Murray should be sat now. Cornelius and Flowers really took off. Cornelius was really the main guy. He was 16 for 31. Flowers was 4 of 6. Cornelius had a touchdown and a pick. He had 193 yards. So not a great completion percentage. But for a team that needed something that had not had great quarterback play, you're looking at a combined 20 for 37 for 244 yards and a touchdown and a pick, only 2 sacks. I mean, that's pretty good for a team that has been very inconsistent at QB. Me and Carver had our doubts about a 2-quarterback system, but watching Cornelius and Flowers work, them two can work together much better than Murray and Flowers work together. Tolliver is an Arkansas guy. I come from South Arkansas. Tolliver is a UAM guy. He played at UAM. 8 receptions for 104 yards. I'm glad to see him thriving. I'm glad to see him playing well. He was one of the names that I wanted to watch this year just because of kind of a hometown feel for me. But Tampa Bay was in the cellar. I believe they moved 1 spot up. That's all they moved up. I don't believe they moved up any more than that. Moving on to the Renegades and the Dragons game. The Renegades are kind of slow to start, but because of how Mummy's high-powered offense, it's kind of easy for them to get in the groove. It's easy for them to get in games, easy for them to drop a lead really quick. Landry Jones was amazing. He had 2 picks and a fumble, but he, 30 for 41, 3 touchdowns, 274 yards. It's not a bad day. The picks kept Seattle in the game. Donald Parham, who I don't understand, he ended up with 5 receptions, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't understand. I read the scouting report on him coming out of college. People thought he was lazy. You do kind of see him take plays off, which is not what you want to see for a guy who is 6'8", 260 something pounds. He got up to 21.1 miles per hour on one of his runs this weekend, which is extremely good for a guy that size. He can be a player. He can be a game changer, but he's going to have to fix the plays that he takes off. That's not something that you want to see from a guy who could be your top target. And he didn't have the most receptions, but he had the most yards. He scored the 2 touchdowns. So it's going to be, I believe that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, is how well he progresses. Because if he plays well, NFL teams are going to be salivating. 6'8", 260 something pounds, can run a low 4-point or a high 4-point, 4.6 plus. Can be a big target in the red zone, but can also get out in space. I believe his moves need a little work. He doesn't seem like he's truly nimble and light on his feet, but when he gets out in the open space and he can just run straight ahead, it seems like he has a little bit of breakaway speed, a lot more game speed than just running speed normally. Seattle, This Brandon Silvers guy has some talent. I said this week one, watching him just rocket balls in there, it kind of reminds me, not as good, but the arm kind of reminds me of a Brett Favre. Silvers he's gonna throw the ball in the tight spots, which is gonna get him into trouble against some teams. He's gonna throw the ball in the tight spots. He's gonna try to make every play. He ended up with 21 for 34, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns. So a lot of his throws are going short, only 6 yards per attempt. He was only sacked once, so you don't see a lot of sacks in this league right now. But Silver just got some talent. His arm strength is absolutely phenomenal. He can fit it anywhere he wants to. Accuracy sometimes needs a little bit of work. Decision making needs a little bit of work. He's not afraid to take a hit. He's not afraid to get mobile, and that's something that has really helped Seattle. And I'm excited to see this league. Quarterback play was very, very, very criticized coming into this week, and that's something that still needs to get better for this team to thrive. But the top guys are playing ball, and that's something that you want to see. Now to New York and St. Louis, who are on two totally opposite ends of the spectrum. St. Louis, I believe, solidified themselves as the second or third best, however you want to look at it. I'd put maybe Dallas ahead of them. I said DC was third. I think DC kind of dropped to fourth after this showing, just because of we expect more from them, and LA hadn't won a game yet. DC was undefeated, but Battlehawks win 29-9 over the New York Guardians. Guardians just look totally dysfunctional. This team looks completely crapped out. McGloin is absolutely horrible. They don't look like they have their quarterback situation figured out. It just, there's not much to talk about them. They look absolutely shitty. And I believe they took over Tampa Bay in the cellar, and they are the worst team in the XFL right now. But Seattle, with that offense, Jordan Ta'amu has been playing great. The thing about it is, he's only 12 for 18 for 119 yards, no touchdowns. They're not going to throw the ball a lot. That's the thing about Seattle, or that's the thing about St. Louis. They are not going to throw the ball a lot. They are going to run it. They're going to pound it down your throat. They threw the ball 18 times. So 20 pass plays because of the 2 sacks. Each sack was only a yard. They ran it 37 times. So that shows you where they're going to lean to. They're going to lead to that run game. They're going to lead to pounding you into submission. Tamu's not going to do a lot of straight dropbacks. It's going to be a lot of RPO. It's going to be a lot of read option. That's where their game is going to kind of lie. And I believe that it has put them as the second best team in the XFL. Moving on to the final game of the week, DC and LA, just as I described. LA 39-9. This was absolutely ridiculous. Cardell Jones, 4 picks, no touchdowns, 13 to 26, only a 50% completion percentage, sacked 3 times. The run game was actually pretty good. Brissett came in, was 8 for 75 with a touchdown, so that was kind of salvageable. But it's Eli Rogers and guys like that have going to have to step up. Cardell Jones is going to have to make plays. They dropped to 4th in my ranking, so right now I have Houston, St. Louis, Dallas, DC, Seattle, LA, Tampa Bay, New York. That's my power rankings. Carver may have something different, but you cannot allow a Wildcats team who has looked dysfunctional, who has looked like one of the worst teams in the league, to come in and drop you 39-9. Josh Johnson, 18 to 25 for 3 touchdowns, 278 yards. So not throwing the ball a ton, not really getting a ton of plays, but still making the most out of them. 11.1 yards per attempt. And that, it's just something you cannot have that if you're going to be If you're one of the best teams, if you're DC, who was picked to be one of the top guys, you can't, that can't happen. Uh, um, but so moving on to this week, really our first big matchup of the year, Sunday. And my bad, I forgot. My bad. Not this coming up weekend. This is on the UFC front. Not this coming up weekend, but the next is Adesanya versus Romero, UFC 248. That's my bad. That's on me. Back to the XFL. Sorry about that. Uh, we all make mistakes. Sorry that I had to do it here. But Sunday, March 1st, 4 Eastern, 3 Central. Houston and Dallas go to battle in Dallas. Get ready for air raid, for balls being thrown all over the place. PJ Walker versus Landry Jones. Gonna be great. Expect this to be a very high score game. I don't know what the over is. I will get more on that as this week goes on. I'll probably do a live thing later in the week. I'm not gonna do it on this pod, but expect the over to be high, and I would hammer it. But the first game of the week, this Saturday at 1 o'clock on ABC, Los Angeles and New York, two bottom four teams, teams that are really not seeing the playoffs in their future. LA is looking, LA, I don't see them as winning this game. I can't see it. It's going to be hard. It would be hard to choose them after seeing what's happened with them. So I'm picking Los Angeles. I don't know the line. I mean, we'll talk about the lines later this week, and I'll make my picks. But if you've heard the way I've talked about New York, you pretty much know who I'm picking there. 4 o'clock on Fox, 4 o'clock Central. 5 Eastern, Seattle and St. Louis, the second best team versus my fifth team, 5th or 6th. Seattle and LA, Seattle's above LA. They're my 5th, LA's my 6th. But I think that this could be a good game. I think that Seattle does have, Seattle has some talent over there. Brandon Silvers is a good quarterback. They're going to put the ball in the air. They're going to run, they kind of mesh it out very evenly. But I think that's going to be a good game. Like I said, we'll get to more of the picks later in the week. Houston, like I said, I've already mentioned Houston and Dallas. If you're going to tune into an XFL game, I believe if you want to see the best XFL football, tune into this game. It's going to be great. If Landry Jones can be more consistent, PJ Walker is going to be PJ Walker. Houston is going to be Houston. This is going to be a fantastic football game. DC gets a chance to get back on track against the 7th ranked team in my power rankings, the Tampa Bay Vipers. They just lost to a team who hadn't won a game. Tampa Bay hasn't won a game. We'll see how this falls. So just look out this weekend for the XFL. If you haven't been watching, you're missing out. It's good football. It's nice to have football when there's no football anywhere else. I believe that this league is here to stay at least for a few years. We'll see how they go after that. But for the love of football, go on and watch the XFL. That's really all I have for this week. Later in the week, I'll do picks. I'm going to try to, every day of the draft, talk about stuff, talk about each day, talk about kind of my dark horses, who I seen showed out, who I seen kind of regressed in the workouts. As NBA playoff season, NHL playoff season, March Madness gets closer, we'll start adding more of that content in. Uh, we want to expand. We want to talk to everybody. That's our thing. Is we want something on here for everyone. If you want to hear, just let us know in the comments and stuff. If it's soccer, if it's stuff like that, just let us know, guys. We will talk about what you want us to talk about. We choose a lot of the topics, but we also want to hear from you guys and what topics you want us to talk about. It doesn't even have, it can be, doesn't even have to be a certain sport. It can just be like recruiting and stuff like that. Whatever you want to hear. We're here to serve you. We're here to do what we love. We love talking about sports. I could sit here 24/7 and talk about it. So, just let us know. And thank you, thank you guys who've been here from the start watching us. Sorry it took us a couple weeks to get back on here. It took me a couple weeks to get back on here. But, share us, like, subscribe, hit the alarm so you know when we're posting our videos. And like I said, just thank you for hanging around. Keep hanging around. And I'll see you guys later this week.